10 years ago today, my mum died. So it's still sad today, every bit as sad as it was 10 years ago. And I want to just read to you the eulogy I read that morning in the church, especially for my mother. So lately, someone in the know called my mother a classy lady. And she was. Right up to the last, she made me proud. Mum was a very self-contained, strong woman, an avid reader, extremely intelligent, well-educated, and she pushed all of us to further our education as far as possible. Nothing was ever too good for us. We could do anything we wanted to do, in her opinion. Born on a farm in her beloved Tipperary, she grew up happily, one of a family of 6. My brother recounts how she used to talk about walking to school with a spud in each pocket to keep her hands warm. She was educated to go into the civil service and learned to perfect the perfect script for letter writing. For those days before typewriters, she told us how it was her chore to drive the pony and cart to the creamery to deliver and collect the milk churns. Jerry, my other brother, remembers on a visit back home, her expertly driving her brood in the pony and trap from the home farm to her sister Bridie's. She never learned to drive a car, but by God, she could manoeuvre and guide that pony. Her special education for the civil service brought her to Dublin, where she met my father, Patrick Dunn, where he was working on the building. He said of her that she came walking past, head in the air, heels clicking on the path like a buck goat, and after a good few attempts, she agreed to walk out with him, and the rest is history. She always wanted 6 children: David, Jerry, Pam, Michael, Paula, and Mark. In those days, a woman had to give up her job as soon as she got married. And after that, myself, Philip, Barry, and Stephen kind of got in under the wire. She carried twins after Mark to full term, but unfortunately they died at birth just before me. 3 years exactly. She never complained. She accepted God's will. Mom was all about family. Her children were her world, and we revolved around her. Being a builder, our dad PJ supported Fine Gael. Mother was a staunch supporter of Fine Gael. She had a passionate interest in politics, and no matter how much PJ tried, she wouldn't change. Gay Byrne and Gareth Fitzgerald were amongst the heroes, and PJ didn't like that one bit. Kathleen was a home bird. She had no interest in drinking. She travelled the world, but only to visit her children. Barry and she visited the baby of the family, Stephen, in Perth. Jerry travelled over to make the return trip with her, and she loved her stopover in Singapore and made us all jealous talking about the fab hotel Jerry booked them into, where the white fluffy dressing gowns were to die for. She only had to mention something she liked, and we jumped at the chance to spoil her. After that Christmas, she had a fluffy white dressing gown for every day of the week. Later, she escorted PJ down under to visit Stephen and my boys and myself, and Darren Ross and I met them there, and we will always remember the fun we had. She was visiting Stephen again at a later date and thought nothing of popping over to Sydney to see my eldest son Simon, who she helped me to rear. When she visited her devoted son David and his wife Maria and their daughters Jenny and Roisin, she discovered espresso and loved it so much she had to be stopped before she reversed her double bypass. Mom was a friend as well as being a mother. She had time for all of us individually and loved us all equally, except of course the white-haired boy and the favourite. She had a way of making one do the right thing. Barry, tribute to her, used to say that Mum was a giver. She cared little for material things. She would give you her last tenner and thought of herself last. She loved feeding everyone. If you visited Mum, you were sure to be fed, and if you left down your jumper, it would end up washed and on the line before you could blink. She made a great confidant. You could tell her anything, and she would be sure it would never be repeated. Kathleen Dunn, mother extraordinaire, exceptional mother of 10, a lot to live up to. My first memories are of running home from school up the sandy lane, bursting in the door, talking non-stop, telling all my news, clothes swinging in the breeze on the clothesline, 13 pairs of jeans arranged in order of size, 17 pairs of socks drying like soldiers. Philip recounts how wonderful it was growing up as part of a large family, supported by a mother devoted to her children. Up to the last, she maintained her independent tradesmark spirit, so much so that when she had enough of the hospital, she signed herself out because she wanted to spend her last days in her apartment with her family. Special gratitude goes to my sister Paula, who pulled out all of the stops, nursing Mum 24/7, and without whose expertise and help we could never have managed. Paula magnanimously tells me it was her privilege, and from me and on behalf of my entire family, I can tell you that it was our privilege to share these last few weeks in my mother's company, and we appreciate you all for being here in this church today to support her in the final steps of her journey heavenwards to join her husband. She said to me before she went that she asked PJ to come and collect her, and knowing my mum, she had to go visit Stephen on the way in Australia. Goodbye, and thank you, Mother, for all of us. Someday I hope to be called a classy lady too. Dígh Ibh